Well, hello there. Welcome to today's lesson. This is the first part of the lesson. Here, we will learn about ratios, and at the end of this lesson, you should be able to solve problems on ratio, apply ratio to everyday life, and solve quantitative reasoning problems involving ratio. Kids, are you ready? Great! Now let's get started on today's lesson. We'll start our lesson with the definition of ratio. Ratio is the relationship between two numbers indicating how many times the first number contains the second. Mathematically, there are three specific formats to write ratio. You can write it with a colon separating two numbers, or you can choose to use the word two in between the numbers. Also, you can write it as a fraction. They all mean the same thing. Ratios can be expressed as part to part, part to whole, or whole to part. Let's take a look at what this means. A class is made up of 14 girls and 14 boys. If we compare the number of girls to the number of boys in the class, this would be a part-to-part comparison, which is 14 to 14. Also, if we compare boys to the whole class, this is a part-to-whole comparison, and this would be 14 to 28. And finally, if we were to compare the class to the girls, and this would be whole-to-part comparison, which is 28 to 14. Now, let's look at an example. In a bus, there are 10 men and 15 women. Find the ratio of the number of men to the number of women. To find the first ratio, we write both numbers as fractions with the number of men as the numerator and the number of women as the denominator, giving a ratio of 10 to 15. But we can simplify it further by dividing both numbers using a number that would go into each without any remainder, which is 5. 5 into 10 equals 2, and 5 into 15 equals 3. Therefore, our ratio can be further simplified as 2 to 3. Now, can you guess what type of ratio that is? You're right! It's a part-to-part comparison. Good job! Also, we can use cross multiplication to test whether two ratios are equal and proportional, as well as find the missing value or ratio. We can do this by multiplying this and this. Let's see what this means. 20 over 25 equals 4 over 5. 4 times 25 equals 100. 5 times 20 equals 100. Therefore, both ratios are equal. Next, we will use cross multiplication to find the missing value in this ratio. 2 to x equals 3 to 9. The first step will be to convert the columns to fractions, giving us an equation with two fractions. That is, x over 2 equals 9 over 3. Next, we cross multiply. 2 times 9 equals 18, and 3 times x equals 3x. Then we divide by bringing 3 under. 3 into 18 equals 6. So, x equals 6. Therefore, the missing value in the equation is 6. In the next example, we will see how we can solve quantitative reasoning problems with ratio. In a mixture of 60 liters, the ratio of milk and water is 2:1. If this ratio is to be 1:2, what is the quantity of water to be further added? Now, let's find the missing value using cross multiplication. Let x be the missing value. First, we write them as fractions. 2/60 equals 1/x. Next, we cross multiply. 60 times 1 equals 60. 2 times x equals 2x. Now, we will bring 2 under 60 and divide it to get an answer of 30. Therefore, the answer is B, which is 30 liters. Kids, did you know that ratio can be used in everyday life to determine the quantity of an item in comparison to another? For example, in cooking, we can use ratio to find out how much water we should use and how much of other ingredients to add. Also, other examples include knowing the number of a particular gender in comparison to the total number of people, etc., etc. I'm sure you had an awesome time learning about ratio and proportions. But we have come to the end of today's lesson. And today we have learned how to solve problems on ratio, apply ratio to everyday life, and solve quantitative reasoning problems involving ratio. See you in the second part of the lesson. Now kids, it's assessment time!